Hello there. Welcome to Rage is Jericho. Oh my god, all my life I have been waiting for this moment, ladies and gentlemen, where I, your host, as we are still continuing this great and historic and very auspicious occasion that is RageCon with something I've been wanting to check out for years, and it is a man in a scarf. But you know what? It's going on a list of my own, hopefully by the time this comes out. Because, okay, you know what? Seriously, can I just ask a very serious question? Sorry, I had to... There we go. When was the last time... I miss when wrestlers, not just WWE wrestlers, but I'm talking TNA wrestlers, WCW wrestlers, Smoky Mountain Wrestling wrestlers, New Japan, AEW. I miss it when wrestlers would actually sing or compose their own music. Like... I have to ad-lib my own sound effects, ladies and gentlemen. Things have gotten that bad. So, yeah, and also I can't help but feel as if there's something somewhat ironic about the song being called Judas, with not at all leading into why Chris Jericho's leave of absence from WWE to join AEW. In fact, can I just take this moment to actually count technically the people who have moved over to AEW as of the time of this video. Well, obviously Jericho, Jon Moxley, Matt Hardy. Well, Matt Hardy, how long realistically does Matt Hardy even have left in his career? Because isn't he 50 years old now at this point? And, well, technically Jeff Hardy is still going on They can freaking do what they want for all I care. It's not for me to say. I think Rusev is now in AEW as well, and Luke Harper. I'm not too sure if... because I know Eric Rowan was released. I have no idea if Eric's going to join AEW or not. To be honest, well, I don't know. I really do not know exactly how much, because out of the 5 I've just listed there, I'm absolutely certain there's more. And, well, technically Taz doesn't really count because... his run with the WWE was doomed in fact, I'm pretty sure, hasn't Taz just been about everywhere at this point? He's been with he was obviously with ECW, then he was with WWE, then he did TNA commentary. I don't think he did. No, I'm just thinking and now he's moved on to AEW commentary. Cody Rhodes and Goldust. Okay, so that's 7 I can list off the top of my head that are with AEW. Taz and Jim Ross, although again Jim Ross is not really a wrestler, he's common. What the hell were thinking when to get rid of Jim Ross from the WWE? That is... I mean, look guys, I like Cody Rhodes, I like Jericho, I like Matt Hardy, I liked Harper, I liked Rusev, but Jim Ross? Really? Why him? Jim Ross is one of the most likable men in the business, and you move him around as if you could just make another one. I know, again, there's right and wrongs on just about all sides, but some things, even to me, are just downright ridiculous. Irony. And yet again, well, to be fair, we're about to hear a man wearing a scarf, but you know what? What a scarf that I'm going to make the list just for saying that, aren't I? Jesus Christ. Okay, you know what? I think, well, that's enough stalling. So, if you guys want to check out the original video for yourselves, links will all be in the description down below. Let's begin. Judas in 3, 2, 1, and...
on the inside. You are innocence personified, and I will drag you down and sell you out. Run away. I am cold like December snow. I have carved out this soul made of stone, and I will drag you down and sell you out. Embraced by the darkness, I'm losing the light. Encircled by demons I fight. What have I become now that I've betrayed everyone I've ever loved? I pushed them all away, and I have been a slave to the Judas in my mind. Is there something left for me to save in the wreckage of my life? My life. I become Judas in my mind. I become Judas in my mind. Judas in my mind. All this guilt is a heavy cross. There is blood on the path I walk, and each step I take is haunting me. Embraced by the darkness, I'm losing the light. Encircled by demons I fight. What have I become now that I've betrayed everyone I've ever loved? I pushed them all away, and I have been a slave to the Judas in my mind. Is there something left of me to save in the wreckage of my life? My life. I become it. Judas in my mind. I become it. Judas in my mind. Judas in my mind. Judas in my mind. What have I become now that I've betrayed everyone I've ever loved? I pushed them all away, and I have been a slave to the Judas in my mind. Is there something left of me to save in the wreckage of my life? My life. I become it. Judas in my mind. I become it. Judas in my mind. Judas in my mind.
Yuki, ladies and gentlemen, that was Judas by Fozzy, and that really, Jericho, really? I mean, I never realized it before, but like, and you know what, mate, I generally don't know, because I don't know too much about Fozzy apart from this is Jericho's own group, but like, I don't know. What do you think, ladies and gentlemen? Do you think? Actually, you know what? I didn't even know what the foundations of my argument were. Whether or not it would have been better for Jericho to have been just performing with Fozzy, or stick to. You know what? Forget it. You know what? Friggin' Jericho can do literally what he wants, because you know what? Who's gonna say no? Do you want to get put in the walls by him? There's absolutely no way you would want that. Now, as opposed to the song itself, turning yourself into the thing you hate. That's a very, very mature and a very interesting subject to look at, because towards Jericho's sort of like ending with the WWE, because it wasn't like, because of recently it wasn't like the first time he had sort of like had a bit of a falling out with the company, but this is amazing that all of a sudden Jericho just woke up one morning and realized they're only putting me on TV just so I could say, you just made the list, and then get in feuds with, I don't know, like guys like Kevin Owens and stuff like that. Why the hell would... You know what, I'm sorry, I'm just going to have to get into a little bit of a rant here right now, because I only just started getting back into wrestling about 2 years ago. But why? Why the hell were they forcing this feud between Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho? It just felt ridiculous because, well, one, it forced possibly one of the easiest Universal Championship wins in history to Goldberg when Jericho just more or less betrayed Kevin Owens. Even more forced when Goldberg beat Bray Wyatt. That was really, really dumb, to be honest. But you know what? That hopefully we're not going to get that again. I hope anyway. Or maybe they'll just... Okay, okay. Let me try and like phrase this a little bit better. Based on what I do know about Chris Jericho, I reckon he could do far, not just more. Chris Jericho is like the sort of person who does just as much inside the ring as he does outside the ring. He is almost a jack of all trades, where you can see just the way he like just stands in front of the camera, in front of the mic, just for the whole world to see. And you have to be honest, considering what wrestlers have to go through day in, day out as part of their job, he looks really, really well for a man. Actually, how old is Jericho anyway? Because I thought he was like maybe 47, 48 or something like that. Let me just do a quick check. 49 years old, from Manhasset, New York. Manhasset? I can't help feel as if like that's meant to be a typo. But I gotta tell you, wow, actually, you know what? You know, CM Punk's only 41 years old, and I actually thought Punk was a lot older than that, because it was the piercing, that's what it was. Edge, 46. That's very strange as well. I actually thought Edge was maybe around about like the same age as Jericho, but you know, who am I to say? So he'll be 50 this year because he was born in 1970. 50 years old, and to keep going like this and to continue and not just perform in the ring but also with Fozzy, and there's no two ways about it. I've got to give my respects to Jericho's work ethic as well as Fozzy's, because when you see your guy getting put through tables, bouncing off ladders, getting KO'd by guys like Big Show, or what was that one scene where like Jericho was like climbing a ladder for the World Heavyweight Championship, and then he like fell like nearly 20 feet and rolled, but you could see like he like took almost all the weight into his left knee. Because I reckon if I fell from a height like that, that would probably kill me. I would not even think about trying to do a front roll to try and, minimize the fall. I mean, the only sort of guys who could pull that off are, well, probably guys who have probably taken worse knocks like that, like Jericho, or anyone from the NXT roster. Probably Keith Lee would probably just bounce off the floor and probably get back to the top of the ladder just like that. And if you don't believe me, you ought to check out NXT. Keith Lee is, for a man as big as he is one of the most, is super, super athletic. Almost kind of like Brock Lesnar in a few ways. And I'm only mentioning this because it was Brock Lesnar's birthday only yesterday on the 12th of July. And he's only 43 years old. How is it that Brock Lesnar... Again, I'm getting a little bit, distracted here into wrestling. I'll stop after this point, but how is it that Brock Lesnar at 43 years old, for someone who is, let's face it, ladies and gentlemen, Brock Lesnar is no is no Rock. He's no Stone Cold Steve Austin. But that's only because Stone Cold and Rock were more than just wrestlers. They were personalities almost. They were almost actors in a strange way. Jericho is just about the only person I think I know who I've ever seen who can hold a candle to the likes of Stone Cold and The Rock on the mic. Nobody else, I think, comes closer. Not even Triple H, Flair, Michaels. I think Rollins is kind of cool. I'm trying to like include modern people from the roster as well. I'm not just trying to be, inclusive. I've actually seen some interviews with Cain Velasquez. He's not bad. Rey Mysterio is Rey Mysterio. What else? Strowman, not bad, I suppose. Samoa Joe. I friggin' watched Samoa Joe back in TNA back in 2008. He impressed me. He impressed the hell out of me then, and even now, even being on commentary, he is absolutely, like, his voice almost roars. He doesn't really have like a soft option in his voice. God, what else? Drew is not bad. Actually, I was going to say Brock Lesnar again, but you know what? Paul Heyman on the mic will be a more fitting descriptor. Who else? Bobby Lashley. Well, Bobby Lashley is Bobby Lashley. What else do you expect? Elias, cool. Apollo Crews, absolutely. My heart friggin' goes out to guys like Apollo Crews, where he's now becoming US. I reckon, ladies and gentlemen, before the year is out, Crews will win the WWE Championship. I reckon, or if not Crews, then maybe Titus O'Neil maybe get. Is Titus even still with the roster now? I'm not entirely sure. Maybe, I don't know, maybe Big Cass will maybe make a re-entrance, or maybe he'll be on AEW, or maybe, who knows, maybe Apollo might get a title shot, the more I think about it. Although, to be honest, Lashley should have been a multi-WWE champion a very long time ago, and there's plenty of other guys I could list off the top of my head. Benjamin friggin' took it to some of the best back in the day. But yeah, but if you go back and actually watch all of Jericho's sort of highlights of how many times he's won, it's not just bravado, it's not just the confidence, because guys like Jericho are competent in the ring, and like I said, in the ring and outside the ring. Jericho is no Judas. He is a savior. He's a guy who basically is still carrying his own sense of attitude, you might say, on his shoulders. And all credit to him, because if that's what he wants to do, and if it's part of his charm, if it's part of his charisma, even way back during, wasn't it like WCW when he first started, along with Guerrero, Mysterio, but there's plenty of guys who are like that as well. But I think, I think the best part about Jericho's sort of a charm, and not just viewing him in this video, but in general, Jericho looks straight up like the sort of person who knows exactly what he's doing. Jericho, he has control over his ability to basically work an audience. He's a showman in himself. And in the ring, it's the same story. He fights like he knows what he's doing. I think the word I'm looking for is competent. Because there are plenty of people who try to rally up the crowd who are not competent, who are maybe either full of contempt or are so serious in trying to present themselves as serious, then it kind of you know what? Back in the day, I almost want to say, when I first started doing videos, I took myself way too seriously. I was just trying to be really informative, and it almost kind of like got in the way for me just in straight up enjoying myself, which is, I think, a trap that a lot of people fall into when they first get started. But you know what? I don't regret doing it, because if it's gotten me to where I am right now, goodness knows how many times Jericho lost before he started winning. Just like with any other wrestler starting off, you've got to lose a good number of times before you learn from your mistakes, basically. Because let's take a very good example is when John Cena first came on the scene about 18 years ago now. He lost his very first fight with the WWE against Kurt Angle, and then he lost it against Chris Jericho himself. But you know what happened? He won with... Actually, no, wasn't it like it was like a disqualification when Cena and Taker did a tag team match against Angle and Jericho. It was I think it was something like that anyway. And then Cena won by disqualification against Jericho, and then Cena won against Test, I think it was. Rest in peace, Andrew Martin there. But anyway, the next part I want to make clear is that basically what happened was the WWE weren't even going to keep John Cena that long. They were just gonna say, you know what, you had your best shot, you didn't rise to the top, we wish you all the best. It's basically what Vince would have done. 15 years into the future, guys like Vince McMahon and goodness knows how many others like John Laurinaitis or Triple H or even Shane McMahon probably would say the same thing, is that they could just make another John Cena. However, one thing, and I don't think it was anybody in John's ear, because the story was that John Cena was on a bus with a bunch of guys, but the ones he was talking to were Rey Mysterio and Rikishi, and then he just started doing he was basically trying to do rap, basically kind of like Eminem, and it developed the character into the Doctor of Thugonomics, and it stuck with a lot of people, and basically it just grew more and more popular, and ironically in a kind of Eminem sort of style. But in fact, if you want to think about it, John Cena is kind of like the Eminem of the wrestling world. Some people think that he can say and do just about anything and he'll cause a reaction, because again, John Cena is the sort of person who does cause reactions. But he does so many, because he's a 16-time world champion and he does all these wonderful things for charity. He brings a lot into the forth. He brings a lot of himself out, and you grow more confident and you grow more competent. Jericho had this charisma literally in the bag, and the worst thing that was happening is that they forced him, or maybe he was becoming something he was not. Maybe it had nothing to do with the WWE, with what they were wanting to do with Jericho. Maybe Jericho just decided that he was going to do things his way, and he was just going to, be the wrestler he was gonna always wanted to be, and fall on his initiative and went from there. Because apparently they're trying... What is it they're trying to say, that Randy Orton's contract is supposed to expire by the end of this year? First off, why? Why would you get rid of a definite Hall of Famer in Randy Orton? Somebody who's been around for 18 years, and again, listen, Randy Orton is not exactly Rock or Cena or Jericho when it comes to the mic. However, Randy is one of the best heels in the business, because have you seen some of the things he could do in the ring? He could just about do literally everything. You want an RKO out of nowhere? You got it. You want him to last 40 minutes in a Rumble? You got it. You want him to win 2 Royal Rumbles in his career? Well, he can do that easy. You want him to, basically turn on the fans? Well, he can do that. But you also want him to, shake hands with people on the fans as well? Then you got it. And actually, while we're on the subject of Randy Orton, kind of another point I want to try and make, and I'm almost trying to make this a point because, well, again, and I'll bring it back to wrestling in a second, is that Jericho, remember, so many people say that, again, wrestling is fake and all this and that. There are some things, however, that can't be faked. And you know what? Watching that video again, I'm literally just gonna like skip back to a part and just like watch the way Jericho moves and presents him. I don't think he's faking it. I think he's just being genuine, because if he was just like phoning it in and just going, I did this and that, if he was boring, you wouldn't watch it. You don't watch people who are boring, do you? It's as simple as that. So obviously you're gonna have to add a bit of flair, a bit of drama, a bit of performance into it. However, there's adding drama, and then there's adding flair, woo, and then there's just going completely out of control. Like, if you've ever seen videos about one very notorious wrestler, and I think you guys probably already know who I'm talking about, and ironically, it's not Benoit, it's not Steiner, it's New Jack. And I say New Jack because it's basically, and I can't even remember what the dude's name was, but they're basically the same person at this point. Remember, New Jack was a guy who was beating the crap out of guys in their mid-70s. What was it? Gypsy Joe it was? And he like beat the shit out of this guy who was in his mid-70s. Basically, if you want to watch a guy, well, New Jack basically almost kills somebody. There was also one case where he nearly stabbed a wrestler to death in the ring. And if you want to know more about this, there's a fantastic documentary series called Dark Side of the Ring, which covers some of the darkest incidents and very controversial moments that happen in pro wrestling. There's stuff like New Jack, there's stuff like the death of Owen Hart, there's stuff like the Montreal Screwjob. There's all sorts of stories like that, and also great stories about the last days of Kurt Hennig, the last days of Brian Pillman, Yokozuna, the infamous plane ride from hell, the rise, fall, and rise of Jake the Snake. Even Jake the Snake Roberts is in AEW, and that man is almost 60 years old. Again, I say this, but even Ric Flair and Hollywood Hulk Hogan were in TNA, and they were both close to 60 when they did that. In fact, Hogan was in his early 60s, nearly 63, when he was with TNA. And Ric Flair was 60 years old when he was fighting in TNA. Which is absolutely extraordinary when you just look at the bigger picture. But anyway, getting back to what I said about New Jack, is that New Jack reflected a lot of the high tension and drama that was happening in like the mid-90s, and he put all of this into his promo, and the ultra violence that he exhibited in ECW is almost beyond words. The mass transit incident, it's famously known as, where basically New Jack and Mustafa basically almost kill an underage kid who lied to Paul Heyman and security to get in the ring. The only but the thing about that is that it's kind of like an opposite in the spectrum. Jericho, you've got the guy you would aspire to because you believe every word he's saying, and then on the other end you've got guys like New Jack, who you believe every single word of, but when he says stuff like, in about 10 years time he'll literally probably die, literally screaming and laughing at the top of his voice, doing all the cocaine in the world, you begin to realize he means this. He 100% means what he does, because this is a guy who said he was high as you could possibly get before and after and during a match. There was some absolutely crazy people in the world of pro wrestling, and there were some crazy things people would do. The one where New Jack nearly killed this guy from like atop of like, what was it, like a 50 tall tables match, or Sandman, the guy who literally smacks people over the heads with bamboo canes for a living. Jericho, at least, has the common courtesy not to brutally murder people in the ring. So you know what? It's like modern day. It's basically like watching superheroes perform in beating the crap out of each other. And you look up to these people because of their strength, of their prowess, of their capability, and the fact that they just do it like you could not possibly imagine. It's entertainment, but it's also trying to be a sport, hence why they're calling it sports entertainment, as opposed to just wrestling. If people really wanted to do it, if you want something more serious, you could go watch like MMA or UFC, where former WWE wrestler Jack Swagger, aka Joe Hager, won matches in UFC. CM Punk even tried to do like that sort of stuff before, and he was very badly beaten. Brock Lesnar looks like he could just about do anything he wanted, because have you seen Brock Lesnar? Are you gonna say no to somebody like that? Or even Perry Saturn or Bobby Lashley? Would you say no to those people? You wouldn't, because the worst thing you would want is to go up to those people who probably just got the shit beat out of them for nearly 15 minutes, and then say to them, you're not as good as this because you were so much better back in the day. You're basically Judas and you're dead to me. You don't want to make enemies out of those people, because they could be making enemies out of themselves by letting people down. Which is why, again, when you hear guys of Bully Ray and Steiner go off on social media, considering what they have to put up with, not just from quote-unquote fans, but also from the fact that they are basically putting their bodies on the line, everyone included, Jericho, Big Show, Taker, Triple H, Kane, everyone. Maybe you would say they have the right to be just a little bit disagreeable. But if Jericho is disagreeable, at least he's doing something about it. And you can't really blame him for that. He's free to do what he likes. If he wants to go to TNA, maybe he would. Or if he wants to go back to WWE, maybe he would. Because he's a huge star. He attracts the fans. He's a multi-championship winner in any platform. Anyone would be more than welcome to have him. They won't call him Judas after that. So anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed this very, very, very long rant. And also, I hope all of you guys have enjoyed the video for yourselves, and I hope to love you guys again in the next reaction video. Take care. Bye-bye for now.